Team collaboration best practices. What does that mean? Well, why is it even important? Why am I spending an entire class talking about team collaboration tools and techniques? It's because in business today, almost no one does anything alone. So really, this quote from Steve Jobs, great things in business are never done by one person, they are done by a team of people, really couldn't be more true. So every business that I've ever worked in have all been oriented around teams of people delivering products together. Now, when you are working on a team, you want to define what team success is. Team or group success really has a lot of different parts. So the one that everyone kind of considers first is the project goals and objectives. Are you meeting them? Are you getting accomplished what you set out to do? Is the client happy, or the project sponsor, are they happy? Essentially, are you getting the project done? That is one indicator of team success. But another, and just as important indicator of team success, is, are the members of the team staying satisfied with the final outcomes? Is the team morale high? Do people feel happy and excited about what they are able to do together as a team? Now, the reason this is important is because teams work together over and over again. And if you want to continue to be able to hit those goals and objectives with your team, you want to make sure that everyone is satisfied with what they are producing as part of that team. And that also ties really closely into individual professional growth. Every person in the team should be able to gain more than just the experience of working on that project. They should be growing their professional skills and developing themselves as professionals as part of any successful team. Now, some of the ways that you achieve this kind of success is really by always keeping these considerations in mind. Now, it doesn't matter if you are in person, if you are working remotely, or if some kind of mix of those things. These are all going to be critical regardless of how your team is structured or where they're located. Number one is building a good team. So selecting and engaging the right members for the team. You want to set yourself up for success by choosing a good mix of people as a foundation for that team. Team leadership is also really important. So, you can rotate who the leaders are, you can change who the leaders are, but if that leadership is lacking, you're going to find that your teams lack direction, they have trouble staying focused, and they get stuck on barriers very, very easily. Team behavior is another important consideration. Having a kind of shared set of guidelines or agreed upon behaviors can help teams really overcome those obstacles, especially interpersonal obstacles that we're all familiar with from working in a team environment. And then finally, individual team members have to be paid attention to as well. They all need to feel that they are bringing value to the team, that they understand their role, they need to know why they're there, and that they're an important and contributing member of the team. So when you're building a team, you want to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success by choosing a team member with the right skills and qualifications, obviously, but you also want to consider personality types and working styles. So you don't want to have too many of the same types of people on a team, for example. Otherwise, you're going to find that they'll have conflict between each other. You also want to make sure that you're engaging people. When you are bringing team members on, don't just drop them in and expect them to be able to, sort of sink or swim. You want to make sure that when you start out, everyone is set up with information about what their role is within the group, what the team goals are, and how they fit in within the overall team. Another thing that's very, very important, and this is often overlooked, especially if you're a very practical, goal-oriented person, and that's camaraderie. So making sure that everyone on the team feels like they're part of the team is something that's really important to helping you get through those difficult times. So you need to make sure that everyone on the team feels like they can count on each other for support. Now, some practical tips for how to build these teams, and this is specific to remote work, is to make sure that you're using profile pictures. So you want to make sure that you're not just a set of initials or a blank outline of a face whenever possible. So whatever tools and platforms you're using, MS Teams, Blackboard, etc., make sure you're uploading a profile picture. You want to always try to use video for live sessions whenever it's possible. Obviously, sometimes it doesn't make sense. Bandwidth or location reasons interfere. But whenever you can, using video really helps you to connect with each other, and it does give you a little bit of an edge when trying to understand and read people's body language as well. As a team, you want to also make sure that you set up time for socializing outside working time. This is really important. Consider creating a non-work chat channel for your group, for example, as a way of cementing that bond, and even explicitly set out to do team building activities. These seem kind of cheesy whenever I've worked in an organization that sets up team building activities like this, but they really are important in building that kind of shared culture and that sort of shared set of values and expectations between your team members. So some team building activities that you can do with remote teams, things like online collaborative games, you can do remote karaoke, virtual movie nights. There's all kinds of different ways that you can help build your team, even when you're not able to be together physically in the same space. Now, leadership. In a collaborative team environment, this is really important. The leader should be demonstrating and embodying all of those behaviors that are expected from the rest of the team. The leader is also someone that kind of shows the way. So they have a clear vision of what the goal is, and they help the rest of the team work towards that goal. And they do that by removing barriers or obstacles. So any kind of challenges or any blockers or any issues that come up, one of the important roles that a leader plays is actually to help remove those barriers and overcome those obstacles. When you are acting as a team leader, it's also really important to be reliable. You have to be seen as trustworthy, and people have to feel that they can count on you and that you're going to do what you say you do in order to build that trust and in order to have them act upon your vision and follow your leadership without hesitation and without questioning. Coordination is another really important role, especially in a group where, the leadership role may be temporary and in fact you're working with people who are on a similar level with you. So acting as a coordinator, helping to prioritize tasks for people and understand what are, critical tasks that need to be done in order for the next tasks to be done, can help with efficiency and overall reduce wasted effort and time within the rest of the team. And then finally, conflict management. So every team is going to have disagreements sometimes. So being able to kind of intermediate and facilitate having people come to resolutions for any kind of conflict, this is another important skill to have as a leader. So some practical tips for our remote team experience is going to be, number one, selecting a different leader for each project. So this is a great technique for keeping the team on track, and it also gives everyone the opportunity to practice that leadership role, which is something that you're going to want to build as part of your skill set. In a group scenario like this, I already talked about this a little bit, but the leader should really be focusing on acting as a coordinator and a facilitator. So in other words, you're not the dictator. You're not the, the person who makes all of the decisions and micromanages the rest of the team. You should be guiding the team, taking their input into consideration, and simply acting as someone that helps to coordinate and facilitate activities getting done. Team consensus is really the way to go. In a situation like this, when you have important decision making, if you have the discussion with the group, take the time to build that consensus, you are going to have an easier time of getting to your goal. And then finally, and this one's really important, if you are in the leadership role, make sure you're not trying to do too much in addition to being a leader. Facilitating and coordinating a team is also work. So make sure you're saving enough time and you're dedicating enough time to acting in that role and not trying to also play too many other roles within the team. Team behavior. Now, good communication is the number one way to keep teams on track. Making sure that everyone has the information that they need, this is critical to collaboration. Missing information is one of the main reasons why people fail and why teams tend to break down. You want to make sure that people feel comfortable providing and receiving feedback, and make sure that everyone also feels comfortable in having ideas and sharing new ideas, coming up with ideas for lateral solutions, and acting as innovators within the team instead of feeling like they are afraid to come forward when they have new ideas. Recognize and celebrate team members as well. So people who collaborate effectively should be recognized and rewarded just as much as those who excel individually. In other words, the person that scored the goal is important, but the person that assisted is just as important. So you need to make sure that you're recognizing everyone's contribution and not just perhaps, the person that came up with the big idea or perhaps who completed a big deliverable that, is being showcased as part of the end result. Cooperation should be the norm that all team members embrace. And what this really means is everyone should have each other's back, and everyone has to be prepared to sometimes step out of their role and help another team member out, even if it is not necessarily something that they were planning to do. And then, of course, compromise. Well, it's always going to be necessary sometimes. Don't be afraid to make these kind of compromises. It can be more important to maintain team momentum sometimes than it is to, stick to your guns and try to, stay pure to an idea. Team members also need to make sure that they have clear expectations and responsibilities. Make sure what part they have to play is known to them. One of the biggest reasons why team members' contributions tend to be lower than expected by others is that actually they don't have the same expectations of what they are expected to contribute. So maximize their strengths, know each person's individual skills and particular strengths, and try to make sure that everyone is getting to make the best use of those skills. This is going to mean that morale stays high and people are developing those professional skills. Some practical tips. If you are an individual in a group, especially in a situation like this, try to be patient and supportive of each other. Not everyone is going to work at the same pace or style. Keep that business chemistry characteristics in mind and try to think about some of the different tendencies and inclinations and characteristics in order to help avoid or resolve interpersonal issues. So when you do come into conflict, perhaps you have an opposite type on your team, what are they thinking? What are you thinking? And how can you kind of mutually understand each other in order to keep working together successfully? And then, of course, it's okay to make mistakes. Everyone is learning a lot of new things right now. We're learning new ways of working. We're in a stressful situation. Please be willing to forgive each other and also be willing to forgive yourself when mistakes are made. Now, these are some of the important collaboration techniques to keep in mind when you are working together in a team. Next, I'm going to talk about some of the obstacles and challenges that you're likely to face as a team.